What's going on, winners? Your boy Loso 2.0, man. And in today's episode, because I don't see every week I'm supposed to be highlighting business owners, as you guys know, right? But with this week in particular, because we don't have any business owner to highlight, which we'll be back into that next week. In the middle episodes, I would like to highlight business owners where that are not alive with us anymore, right? Learning a little bit about their story, highlighting their business, how leadership affected their journey, right? And we're gonna have get the laptop up right here. I'm completely authentic with you guys. That's up here. I got some research and stuff from different people. So today's business owner or leader that we will be highlighting is Walt Disney and how his leadership built an empire. Okay. So what if the biggest thing holding back your revenue is not your product? It's your leadership. As you guys know, I'm a big believer in it's about the people, right? It has nothing to do with the product, the service, whatever the pay plan, whatever the case may be. It has to do with the people always, right? So I'm gonna introduce to you guys Walt Disney. Um, Walt Disney, right, he's more than the man behind Mickey Mouse. That's what we know him as, right? Walt Disney created, Mickey Mouse, right? Look, and even if you Google like who is Walt Disney, right? It'll say he was an American animator, film producer, entrepreneur. He co-founded the Walt Disney Company, created iconic characters like Mickey Mouse, pioneered feature-length animation, and built Disneyland. And he won a record 22 Academy Awards. Dang, that boy was out there tweaking, right? Um, he experienced failure, financial struggles, rejection, and business setbacks before building Disney. All right. And we're going to get into all of those things today, right? It's not about just his success, because a lot of times we see, especially with social media, right? We'll see a lot of times people we're just pushing up the narrative of, we're out here winning, life is good, life is good, right? Like everything is just great, but that's not really how it is most of the time, right? It's about how like leadership decisions eventually turn creativity into revenue. So he was creative, right? And right now, I think this episode is going to be more important than anything, because now with the content creation and everybody having that creatives mindset, it's just going to blow up, right? So the main question, right, is what can today's business owners learn from Walt Disney about leading people and building something bigger than themselves? Because again, we're in the realm of creators right now. So you can learn a lot from Walt Disney when it comes to this, right? So first is before the empire, right? His success wasn't immediate, just like most business owners. All right. Um, One of his early ventures was actually the Laugh-O-Gram studio that went bankrupt. Okay, so let's look that up. Actually, that's crazy. Dang. That's crazy. Like, so he really started something called the Laugh-O-Gram Studio. It was like an American independent animation studio founded by Walt Disney in June 20th, 1921. And it closed on October 16, 1923. It only lasted 2 years. And it was located on the second floor of the McConaughey Building in Kansas City, Missouri, as a key early venture for Disney and his recruited pioneers of animation. Okay, so this was his first company of him trying to figure that out, right? And it ended up going bankrupt, right? Let's see what it says right here. The company was incorporated to produce a series of contracted animated shorts called Newman's Laugh-O-Grams. See, Disney was encouraged by their local popularity and began producing his own series of modernized fairy tale cartoons, including Little Red Riding Hood. The studio secured a contract for 6 shorts with Pictorial Clubs Inc. of Tennessee, but the distributor paid only a small advance before going bankrupt. Dang. So he thought, Disney thinking up after making the Laugh-O-Gram, and then this joint went bankrupt. It says the loss of income crippled Laugh-O-Gram financially, forcing Disney to live in the office and bathe weekly at Union Station. So my boy had to live out of the Union Station. The final project, a dental hygiene film called Tommy Tucker's Tooth, funded Disney's production of Alice in Wonderland, which combines live action animation and last resort to create a successful franchise. So Red Riding Hood, Alice's Wonderland, Tommy Tucker's Tooth, all these things actually came from the Laugh-O-Gram, right? The studio filed for bankruptcy in July 1923. Disney sold his camera and moved to Hollywood. with an unfinished reel of Alice's Wonderland. Okay, so that's when he moved to California and started again with his brother Roy. All right. Um, so let me see his brother Roy. Disney's brother Roy. Raymond Arnold Disney. Roy Oliver Disney. He was Walt Disney's older brother, and he also founded the Walt Disney Company. Okay, so I didn't even know this. I thought Walt Disney was the only one. This is news to me. I did not know that Walt Disney provided the creative vision. Roy managed the finances and business operations, served as the company's first CEO and longtime president. After Walt died in 1966, Roy delayed retirement to open and name Walt Disney World in his honor. So Disney World was created after his brother passed away, but his older brother. So Roy ran the show, and Walt actually was the creative behind it. Dang, so that goes to show, right? Like, again, business mindsets, connecting the dots, right? I know me, I'm not really that artistic, but I know my my X's and O's, my P's and Q's. My brother's more of a creative. Maybe shoot, who knows? We might be founding a Henry company or something like that, right? Um, but this goes to show, right, how entrepreneurship often looked completely different before the success story. A lot of times people only see the success, right? And this gives me to a stat right here, right? And this is something that I see all the time, right? Babe Ruth. Now, everybody will go by Babe Ruth and try to say like he's one of the GOATs to MLB, right? Anyway, right? He had a legendary 22-year Major League Baseball career with a lifetime, right? But he batted at a .342, so a 34%. All right, 34% he was batting at. That's crazy. And we've known him as the GOAT. That means most of the time he was missing rather than actually knocking it out the park or hitting it, right? But we see that as success, right? So the thing is this: you're going to strike out more times, especially in the beginning. Entrepreneurship, they're striking out a lot more. They're just willing to fail more often, and in entrepreneurship, also able to fail more often and than other people, right? But failure doesn't automatically mean the vision is wrong, right? Again, Laugh-O-Gram was first with Walt Disney until him and his brother, he filed for bankruptcy, moved to the Cali with his brother, and then they founded, Disney, right? You have to know when to change the strategy without abandoning the mission. Again, the Laugh-O-Gram, it still is similar. It's still an entertainment company, but instead of it being Laugh-O-Gram, they had to file bankruptcy on that joint, switch up a little bit, be able to, again, they're able to fail more often than other people. And since they fail more, they're able to now connect the dots, adjust, make their adjustments, and then now go out there, right? One bad month doesn't mean you're finished. Man, I'll tell you right now, we're having a tough month for my stores, right? It's just like this. It's ebbs and flows. The law of rhythm. Remember I told you there's ups and there's downs. But as you get better, the downs stop being all the way down here off screen, but maybe the downs are right here. Law of rhythm. Ups, downs. It's going to happen regardless. So you have to understand that. One bad product or one failed product doesn't mean you're a bad business owner automatically, right? But you know how many times I switched around? Shoot, I got the Winners Win book out and I still ain't really, sell too many of them. One employee leaving doesn't destroy the company. It doesn't. You want people that, so one, my mentor and my boss will always say this, right? There's a category. It's need and want. If you don't need somebody, you don't want somebody on your team, that's the worst position to be in. They're out of here. If you need somebody, but you don't want them, that's a terrible position for the leader because now it's like, I need them, but I don't want them on my team. So now you're stuck with them. If you want them and you need them, it's bad too because now it's like, I need you, so I can't really coach you the way I want. But if I want you, but I don't need you, oh, I'm in a great position because we're both in a great position. Now I can hold you accountable and to the best of your abilities, and I'm able to coach, right? So one employee doesn't mean the company's destroyed. Your ability to respond to adversity, whether the company survives long enough to become profitable, is what is the skill set, right? That's the skill set that you want to chase after, right? So now we kind of go into Disney, right? Going into Mickey Mouse in the power of innovation, right? So Disney lost control of an earlier character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. All right, let's see about Oswald and the Lucky Rabbit. This is crazy. I did not know this stuff about Disney, bro. Oh, that joint do look like freaking it looks like Mickey Mouse. Is a classical animated cartoon created in 1927 by Walt Disney and Uberworks for Universal Pictures. He was Disney's first major breakout cartoon star before a contract dispute led to the creation of Mickey Mouse. Wow, so there was a contract dispute between him and someone else when it came to Oswald the Rabbit. Let's see what it's saying about it, right? It's also known as Ozzy. Is a character created in 1907 Walt Disney Uber works for University Star in a titular series of short films released to theaters from 1927 to 1938. 27 animated Oswald shorts were animated at Walt Disney Studio and produced by Winkler Productions, while the rest were produced by Walter Lantz Productions. And after Universal took control of Oswald's character in 1928, Disney created Mickey Mouse as a replacement to Oswald, surpassing Lance Oswald in popularity as the series was eventually made redundant in favor of the other Universal Studio series. So, and it's funny because if you look up Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, he actually looks like Mickey Mouse, like in a similar thing. So yeah, that setback actually helped him create Mickey Mouse, and that's where Mickey Mouse emerged, and that's the most popular thing that Walt Disney had, right? That really started off. So Disney continued pushing innovation, including synchronized sound with Steamboat Willie. Okay, let's see who Steamboat Willie is though. But dang, that is cool, crazy. I'm telling you, this is so crazy. Oh, wow, that's funny as heck. Yo, y'all know the joint when Mickey Mouse is like riding on the boat and like whistling, kind of like going side to side? That's Steamboat Willie. And that's what became popular with Mickey Mouse, right? It's a 1928 American animated short film directed by Walt Disney and Uberworks. It was produced in black and white by Disney Cartoons and released by Pat Power Celebrity Production. The cartoon is considered the official debut of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, although both appeared months earlier in a test screening of Plain Crazy and the then unreleased The Galloping. Excuse me. The show Steamboat Willie is the third film in the Mickey Mouse series that have been produced, but is the first that have been officially distributed because Disney had seen The Jazz Singer and became determined to produce one of the first fully synchronized sound cartoons. And that's the joint Mickey Mouse like dang, right, like swim a boat. Okay. See, that's another lesson, right? Great leaders don't just react to the market, they look for ways to move the market. He created this, right? He looked and he went and seen the singer, the jazz singer. Excuse me. And then Walt Disney was like, yo, I'm gonna make something like this, right? And create his own thing, right? So let me ask you this. What are you doing differently from your competitors? I say doing, but what are you doing differently from your competitors? Why should customers choose you? Are you innovating or simply copying what's already working? Right? Innovation creates differentiation. Differentiation. All right. So in a minute of this, right? You innovating stuff. Again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you do add your little twist to it, right? I'm not the first person to do a podcast. I'm not the first person to make a YouTube video. But I'm talking specifically about business owners and leadership and how it's directly connected to revenue. So you got to figure out what your thing is, right? What's making you different? Because what makes you different creates that attention. And what creates that attention, well, I mean, you know the rest, right? Attention creates opportunities for revenue, right? Attention is, especially nowadays, the most important thing, especially with social media. Most important thing is to have people's attention. All right. So now we're going to go to the vision before everyone else sees it. See, Disney pursue ideas that others considered extremely risky. And I will forever love this tattoo that I got, man. Shout out to Patty. She actually did this joint for me, right? It's hard to kind of see, but it says no risk and it says no reward. It got a little band or whatever in it. If you're not willing to take risks, don't be willing to get that huge reward. That's just how it is, right? So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was a massive financial gamble. All right. Wow. So it's a 1937 American animated musical fantasy film produced by Walt Disney and released by RKO Radio Pictures. I was thinking Randy Orton when I see that. Based on the 1812 German fairy tale Snow White by the Brothers Grimm. The film was supervised by David Hand and a team of 5 sequence directors. Perce Pierce, William Cottrell, Larry Morey, Wilfred Jackson, and Ben Sharpstein. It is the first animated feature film produced in the United States and the first cell animated feature film. This is the first film produced in the U.S. That's crazy. In Disneyland, so that was that one. That was a huge massive again. Then Disneyland was another huge vision that requires significant investment and belief. Dang, this is freaking crazy, bro. I didn't even know all this stuff. And it's crazy. You don't learn, like, it's just crazy. You don't see all this. Officially opened to the public on July 18, 1955 in Anaheim, California, which makes sense because the main Disneyland is in California. That's where he moved to. Let's see, everything's starting to make sense now. Following a televised press preview dedicated on July 17, 1955. Construction on the 160-acre farm uh, construction, okay, Grove began in 1954, transforming Walt Disney's vision in the world's first modern theme park. All right. It's a theme park at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, California, United States. It was the first theme park opened by the Walt Disney Company and the only one designed and constructed under the direct supervision of Walt Disney. So Disneyland, I gotta go there. Me and wife gotta go there. This is the only one ever like created by him and actually supervised by him, right? Leadership means sometimes seeing the destination before your team can see it. You got to be a visionary as a leader, bro, because people are going to follow after you. But having vision isn't enough. A leader has to communicate the vision well enough that the other people want to help build it. You have to make them believe, bro. They have to believe. The moment the leader stops believing is the moment that everyone else stops, right? Does your team understand where the company is going? Do they even know the mission statement? Does your team even have a mission statement? Does your company even have one, right? Does your team understand, or are they simply just showing up for a paycheck, right? Employees can't execute a vision they've never been given. You can't tell them a vision, and then you got to sell them a vision at first. You got to tell them it because, see, the thing is, people think when you go from sales to like sales leadership that it ends. No, if anything, you're still sales. You have to sell your team on the vision. So the customer experience is also a leadership decision. Disney wasn't simply selling movies or amusement rides, right? He focused intensely on the experience people had with the brand. Bro, think about when you think about Disney. You got the Disney Plus. I literally was just watching that because we were watching Hopper on there. We went to Disney World. Me and wife went to Disney World and went to Universal Studios, but Disney World as well. The people walking around in the costumes and stuff. We think the kids, they got the toys, the merch, the TV shows. The Marvel's now connected to the Disney, right? Like Sony be putting the shows like it's Disney is like it's the experience that you get with the brand, right? Disneyland demonstrates how details can become part of the product. Seriously, it became a see. Disney initially envisioned building a tourist attraction adjacent to the studios in Burbank, right, to entertain fans who wished to visit. However, he soon realized that the proposed site was too small. The ideas that he had. After hiring the Stanford Research Institute to perform a feasibility study determining an appropriate site for his project, Disney brought a 160-acre site near Anaheim in 1953. The park was designed by a creative team handpicked by Walt from internal and outside talent. They founded WED Enterprise, the precursor to today's Walt Disney Imagineering. Construction began in 1954, and the park was dedicated during a special televised press event on the ABC television network on July 17, 1955, a day before its public opening. The design and construction of Disneyland has been credited with revolutionizing the theme park industry and pioneering several features that will go on to influence theme park designs, including a strict dedication to theming and cleanliness. Bro, they are big on that because people always get sick when they go to Disney World. Spray, hand sanitizer, all that stuff like that. The use of a berm to block views of the outside world, a hub and spoke layout, and the use of visual landmarks to draw guest focus. That's why he created that landmark. Like, look at all that attention to detail when it comes to Disneyland and Disney World and all the theme parks, right? Cleanliness really does matter. And I said this earlier. I said, yo, if someone cannot clean, if their store is dirty, I was talking about myself, if the store is dirty, I'm not expecting you to sell because your attention to detail is like terrible, right? Employee presentation matters, bro. If their shirt's all right, I had one employee, he said his shirt, he doesn't even take it home out the car, bro. Take that joint home, iron it, clean it up, wash it, wash yourself up, get a haircut. Like, that matters a lot. Customer interactions is everything. Like I said, when that greeting, that first 5 seconds, when they walk in, you got to lay out the red carpet for them. So that really does matter. Environment matters, right? Consistency matters. All these things matter when it comes to business because numbers and revenue is just a direct reflection of the behaviors. So your standards become part of what the customer is purchasing, right? Better experience means a stronger reputation. Stronger reputation means repeat customers. Repeat customers mean referrals. Referrals mean lower customer acquisition costs and greater revenue potential because now you don't got to keep going out there looking for people. You just building off that foundation that you have. Would you be impressed if you experienced your own business as a customer today? You got to think about that, right? So then culture became the brand, all right? Disney understood that employees represented the experience. They were everything. You have to freaking invest into the employees, right? The people delivering the product can strengthen or damage the brand because they are the representation of it. Man, I'll tell you, I just had this conversation with a manager. I'm like, yo, the sales reps in the back with freaking joggers on, feet up on the desk, like that is a representation of you. You can spend thousands on marketing, but only poorly trained employees can destroy the customer's perception. That's another thing. We look at conversion rates a lot in the business that I'm in because it's like, even if I bring people in, I could bring in 1,000 more people, but if I bring in 1,000 more people and you're at 11% close rate when the goal is 20 minimum, it's like you're not even going to maximize anyway. Leadership isn't simply telling employees what to do. It's setting expectations before anything, right? You have to set the expectations, set the stage, then training the people, reinforcing the standards and holding people accountable. If once you have this conversation, if you have the right people, you don't have to keep doing it, right? And recognizing great performance. When they do good, you have to recognize them, right? You have to be obnoxiously recognizing them. Your customer experience will eventually reflect your employee experience and leadership culture. If your team doesn't understand the standard, customers will eventually feel it, right? So, where Disney's leadership wasn't perfect, don't it's not really a celebration of everything Disney did, right? His leadership and labor relationships were not without conflict, right? The Disney animator strike of 1941 is an important part of the story. Let's see. Dang, let's see what they had going on here. So there's a Disney's animator strike. It was a film industry work stoppage where unionized employees of Walt Disney's productions picketed and disrupted film production of just under 4 months. Say, like, I'm not working. The strike reflected anger at inequities of pay and privileges at Disney, a non-unionized workplace. Walt Disney responded to the 5-week strike by firing many of his animators, but was eventually pressured into recognizing the Screen's Cartoonists Guild by signing a contract with them, which involved, amongst other concessors, rehiring those who wished to return. So they were like, basically, I'm not working for freaking 4 months. He fired some people, and then that's what happened, right? It says in 1930s, a rise of labor unions took place in Hollywood in response to the Great Depression. Oh, this is where the unions start. Okay, and the subsequent mistreatment of employees by studios. Among these unions were Screen Cartoonists Guild, which formed in 1938 after the first strike at an animation studio occurred. The 1937 Fleischer Studio strike. By 1941, SCG president Herbert Sorrell had secured contracts with multiple major animation studios in California, including MGM Cartoons, Walter Lantz Productions, Screen Gems, and George Powell Productions. Except for Disney and Leon, I ain't even gonna try to do that productions. Scheisinger gave in to the SCG's request to give a contract after his own employees went on strike for 6 days, but upon signing, reportedly asked, "What about Disney?" I see. So this was after the Great Depression. That's why the union started in order to kind of give a little bit more job security. Okay, dang. See, a brilliant visionary can still have some leadership blind spots, obviously, right? It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, right? Business success doesn't automatically mean every leadership decision was correct. There's going to be, they don't see the ups and downs of it, right? We were just talking about that in Bible study yesterday. You might pray for somebody, you might see somebody's life and be like, I pray, I want a life exactly like his, but you don't know what that person had to go through in order to get that. Revenue can sometimes hide leadership problems temporarily, but it always comes to light. Oh my gosh, this is the exact reason of this right now. I know this leader who has a couple stores, and the his leadership skills is literally just abysmal, but he was performing. But now you're starting to see the drop off of it eventually. It took a year, but eventually you're seeing the drop off from it because it's just a direct reflection of his revenue. Of his leadership skills, because he just tried to lead by fear. You cannot lead by fear. You have to lead by leading, right? A company can be profitable while employees are still frustrated. Eventually, unresolved cultural problems can affect actual retention, execution, reputation, and growth. I'm seeing it real time, right? Business owners need people willing to challenge them, not just people willing to agree with everything that they say. And that's actually funny that that happens, because I actually had a meeting with um, the owner of a company I work for, and he was saying like, the thing before is I would do whatever, the last president said. I would do whatever the president before that said. I would do whatever he said, but he didn't want that. He wanted me to run the show, do what I need to do to get the numbers. And I was like, that's crazy. But let's bring it all back, right? Disney demonstrated several ways leadership can actually influence revenue. Vision creates direction. Innovation creates differentiation. I'm going to butcher that word. Standards create consistency. Customer experience creates loyalty. Resilience keeps the organization moving through failure. Revenue isn't disconnected from leadership. Numbers are often the result of behaviors happening inside the organization. When sales decline, don't only ask, why aren't we selling? Also ask, how are we leading? Look at the leaders first. What behaviors are we allowing? Does everyone understand the expectation? Have we trained them properly? Are we giving employees something worth believing in? These are things that you got to look at, right? See, Walt Disney ended up dying or passing away in 1966, but the organization and brand continued far behind his lifetime. Like I said, I'm literally just watching Disney Plus. That's one of the ultimate tests of leadership. Can what you're building eventually become bigger than you? You want it to be bigger than you, right? Like I'm challenging, right? Don't only build revenue, build people, build standards, build systems, build culture, build something capable of operating when you're not in the room. Leadership isn't separate from your revenue. Leadership creates the behaviors, the culture, the standards, and customer experience that eventually show up in your revenue. If your business perfectly reflected your leadership today, well, would you be proud of what you saw? Man, that's really all I got today, man. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Winner Wins Podcast, where we highlighted Walt Disney, man. This is amazing. I hope you learned a lot. Subscribe to the channel, comment below. Remember, winners win, losers lose, and you pray for success like this. 2.0 out.